When a woman has no one left but God, it is not because she was forgotten, but because she was trusted with a deeper formation that could not happen in company. A woman's season of having no one but God is not abandonment, but divine entrustment and protection. What feels like loss of support is often a narrowing of dependence. This season removes secondary sources of strength so that the primary one can be secured. It is not a stripping away meant to weaken you, but a guarding meant to strengthen what is most essential. When relationships fall quiet and familiar support fades, it can feel personal, as if you have been forgotten. But abandonment leaves you exposed. This season is doing the opposite. It is shielding you from influences that could interfere with what is being formed within you. God does not isolate to harm. He isolates to preserve what is becoming fragile under too many voices. This kind of season builds a direct reliance that cannot be replicated when others are present to fill the gaps. You learn how to stand without leaning, how to trust without backup plans, and how to hear without interference. This deepens discernment and anchors faith in something unshakable. What is built here will not collapse when people disappoint or circumstances shift. Divine entrustment means you are being trusted with growth that requires solitude. Some transformations cannot happen in crowds or through constant counsel. They require space, silence, and focused attention. God entrusts this process only to those who can endure it without losing themselves. Protection is also at work. Not everyone is meant to walk with you through every season. Some connections would slow your healing, distort your clarity, or demand energy you need for restoration. This season removes those pressures so alignment can be restored without negotiation or compromise. Having no one but God exposes wounds that were masked by connection. It brings unmet needs to the surface so they can be healed rather than managed. This exposure is not cruelty. It is precision. What is brought into the light can finally be addressed fully. This season also redefines intimacy. You learn that closeness is not measured by presence alone, but by faithfulness. God becomes not a last option, but the central one. This shift changes how you relate to others later. You no longer seek completion through them. You engage from wholeness. Strength formed here is quiet, but enduring. You gain stability that does not depend on constant reassurance. You become less reactive, more grounded, and more discerning. This prepares you for relationships that are healthy, reciprocal, and aligned rather than necessary for survival. When this season ends, you will not emerge empty. You will emerge anchored. The time with no one but God will have clarified your identity, strengthened your trust, and refined your boundaries. What felt like loneliness will be revealed as preparation. This is not abandonment. It is divine care, expressed through restraint and protection. You are set apart not because you are unwanted, but because what is being built within you required uninterrupted attention. Emotional silence and isolation are tools God uses to purify dependence and secure identity. These seasons feel empty on the surface, but they are deeply intentional. When emotional reinforcement is removed and connection feels distant, the sources you rely on are clarified. What remains after silence reveals what is truly sustaining you. Emotional silence strips away borrowed strength. Without constant affirmation, validation, or reassurance, you are confronted with what you believe about yourself and about God. This is not meant to expose you to harm, but to expose what is unstable so it can be replaced with something enduring. Dependence that is purified becomes resilient rather than fragile. Isolation secures identity by removing comparison. When others are absent, there is no one to measure yourself against. Roles fade. Expectations quiet. You are no longer defined by how you show up for others or how they respond to you. Identity begins to settle into something internal, steady, and less reactive. God uses emotional silence to retrain trust. When feelings of closeness are absent, faith moves from emotion to conviction. You learn to remain faithful without feeling supported. This strengthens belief that is not dependent on experience alone. Faith that survives silence can withstand complexity later. Isolation also exposes attachment patterns. It reveals where connection became substitute for purpose or where approval replaced alignment. These revelations are not condemnation. They are invitations to heal. What is identified in isolation can be reordered without distraction. In these seasons, God becomes the primary reference point. Decisions are made with less input, but more clarity. You learn how to listen internally rather than seek constant external counsel. This develops discernment that is essential for maturity and leadership. Emotional silence can feel disorienting because it removes emotional reward, but it also removes emotional manipulation. You are no longer moved by reaction or response. This allows alignment to stabilize. You act from conviction rather than emotional pressure. Isolation secures identity by building you learn your rhythms, your limits, and your needs. This awareness prevents future burnout and unhealthy dependency. Identity becomes something you carry, not something you borrow. God's use of silence and isolation is not to distance himself. It is to remove distractions so intimacy can deepen. When there is no emotional noise, connection becomes intentional rather than reactive. This intimacy is quieter but more stable. When these seasons end, you emerge with purified dependence. You know where your strength comes from. You know who you are apart from roles and relationships. Emotional silence and isolation will have done their work, securing identity and strengthening trust. These tools are not harsh. They are precise. They protect what is forming within you. What feels like absence is actually focused care, ensuring that your dependence is anchored and your identity is secure. God removes external support to establish internal strength, discernment, and spiritual authority. What feels like sudden lack is often deliberate refinement. When familiar sources of comfort, guidance, or affirmation are reduced, it exposes where strength has been borrowed rather than built. This removal is not punishment. It is preparation. External support can sustain you, but it can also limit you if it replaces internal development. God allows certain supports to fall away so the dependence can be strength that forms internally is stable. It does not fluctuate with availability of people or circumstances. This strength becomes the foundation for endurance and leadership. Discernment sharpens when voice is quiet. Without constant input, you are forced to listen more carefully. You learn to recognize what aligns with truth rather than what simply feels reassuring. This discernment is essential for spiritual authority. Authority requires clarity, not consensus. When external validation is removed, identity stabilizes. You are no longer defined by feedback or approval. Decisions become rooted in conviction. This internal alignment prevents compromise when pressure increases. Spiritual authority rests on this kind of integrity. The absence of support also reveals capacity. You learn what you can carry and where growth is still needed. This awareness is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to prepare you. Internal strength grows through use. Each moment you endure without external reinforcement strengthens resilience. Spiritual authority is not granted suddenly. It is formed through consistency, trust, and obedience in unseen seasons. When no one is affirming your faithfulness, your response reveals depth. Authority that is forged here is steady and unshaken by visibility. God's removal of support also protects you from dependence that could compromise purpose. Leaning too heavily on others can distort discernment. Isolation clarifies direction. It allows alignment to be secured without negotiation. This season teaches you how to seek guidance without craving reassurance. You learn to wait, to listen, and to act with patience. These qualities are necessary for authority that serves rather than controls. What feels like being left alone is actually being entrusted. God trusts you to grow through this process. He trusts the strength being formed within you. This trust is reflected in the responsibility you are being prepared to carry. When external support returns, it will supplement rather than sustain you. You will engage from strength rather than need. This shift marks maturity. God removes external support not to weaken you, but to fortify you. Internal strength, discernment, and spiritual authority are being established quietly. What is formed now will remain when circumstances change, ensuring that your foundation is secure and your influence is aligned. Biblical patterns confirm that women are often formed in solitude before stepping into purpose and influence. Again and again, preparation happens away from the crowd, before visibility ever arrives. What looks like obscurity is actually the place where depth is secured and calling is stabilized. Solitude creates space for formation without distortion. When no one is watching, motives are purified. Identity is not shaped by applause or expectation, but by obedience and trust. This hidden shaping ensures that when influence comes, it does not overwhelm or redefine the woman carrying it. Women in scripture were often positioned quietly before they were entrusted publicly. Their strength was refined in unseen places where dependence on God became personal rather than inherited or assumed. Solitude allowed faith to become rooted, not performative. What was formed privately later sustained them publicly. Isolation removes the pressure to prove worth. In solitude, there is nothing to impress and no role to maintain. This frees the heart to heal, to listen, and to grow without comparison. Influence that emerges from this place is grounded rather than reactive. Solitude also develops discernment. Without constant counsel or affirmation, decisions are made through prayerful clarity rather than consensus. This discernment becomes essential when responsibility increases. A woman who has learned to hear clearly in silence is not easily swayed by noise later. Hidden seasons build endurance. Waiting without recognition strengthens patience and humility. These qualities are necessary for longevity. Influence without endurance collapses under pressure. Solitude ensures that strength is internal before it is expressed externally. Biblical patterns show that preparation often looks disproportionate to the assignment. Long seasons of quiet precede moments of impact. This is because influence requires more than talent. It requires stability, wisdom, and restraint. These are cultivated slowly, away from urgency. Solitude also protects calling. Early exposure can distort purpose. God often shields women from premature visibility so that confidence is not confused with calling and affirmation does not replace obedience. Protection in solitude preserves clarity. When the season of solitude ends, a woman does not emerge seeking value. She emerges carrying authority. Her influence flows from alignment rather than ambition. She knows who she is, because that identity was secured when no one else was present. This pattern is not accidental. It reflects God's care. He forms deeply before he releases broadly. Solitude is not a delay in purpose. It is the environment where purpose is anchored. Women shaped this way carry influence differently. They lead with wisdom rather than urgency. They serve from fullness rather than striving. Their presence brings stability because it was forged in stillness. Biblical patterns affirm this truth repeatedly. Solitude is not a detour, it is the path of preparation. What is built there ensures that when purpose unfolds, it does so with strength, clarity, and lasting impact. This season is producing a woman who is chosen, refined, preserved, and fully aligned with God. Nothing about what is happening is random or excessive. Every quiet moment, every delay, and every internal shift is contributing to a precise outcome. You are not being reduced. You are being shaped with intention. Being chosen does not always feel affirming at first. It often feels weighty. Selection brings responsibility before it brings clarity. This season is teaching you how to carry what has been entrusted to you without needing constant reassurance. Chosen does not mean exempt from pressure. It means trusted with formation. Refinement is rarely comfortable. It removes what cannot go forward. Old patterns, attachments, and expectations are being gently but firmly stripped away. This is not loss for the sake of loss. It is refinement for the sake of alignment. What remains is stronger, truer, and less divided. Preservation is happening even when it feels like nothing is moving. God is keeping you from environments, relationships, and timelines that would exhaust or distort you. What looks like limitation is protection. Preservation ensures that what is being formed is not prematurely exposed or mishandled. Alignment is the quiet work beneath everything else. Your thoughts, responses, and desires are being You are learning how to move in agreement rather than impulse. This alignment stabilizes you internally so that future responsibility does not pull you out of center. This season is also teaching restraint. You are learning when to wait, when to speak, and when to remain still. This discernment is essential for a woman who will carry influence. Restraint ensures that strength is expressed wisely rather than reactively. The woman being produced in this season is steady. She is not easily shaken by delay or silence. Her confidence is rooted in knowing, not proving. This stability allows her to remain faithful without constant validation. Refinement also deepens compassion. Pain that is processed rather than avoided becomes wisdom. You are gaining understanding that will later allow you to serve without judgment and lead without hardness. This kind of depth cannot be taught. It is formed through experience. Preserved does not mean hidden forever. It means held until ready. God knows the right time for release. He also knows the cost of early exposure. This season ensures that when doors open, you will walk through them whole rather than hurried. Fully aligned does not mean flawless. It means surrendered. Your direction is becoming clearer because your inner world is quieter. You are less divided between what you want and what is right. This alignment creates peace that does not depend on circumstances. This season is not ending with exhaustion. It is ending with readiness. You are emerging as a woman who is chosen with purpose, refined with care, preserved with wisdom, and aligned with God in a way that will sustain everything that comes next.